Welcome back to my channel. My name is Fleming. I'm a chartered property surveyor. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing viewing properties during lockdown and also the requirement to provide proof of funds before viewing properties, because it is a question that has been posed to me recently, as well as a question that has popped up over on Crazy House Prices on Instagram. I'm going to review this topic in the following order. First off, government requirements. Second, what to expect when you actually do view a property. 3, the requirement to provide proof of funds. And 4, what the future looks like for viewing property. So government bodies. The first up is the Property Service Regulatory Authority. Each agent needs to be licensed. Their license is renewed every year, and they're audited as well every few years. Then you have IPAV. IPAV is generally made up of residential auctioneers. And then you have the SASI, which is the Chartered Surveyors of Ireland. That body is made up of commercial, residential agents, valuers, QSs, building surveyors, land surveyors, and a host of other different surveyors as well. All 3 bodies earlier in the year came up with a joint agency protocols. It was called the Joint Sector Protocols for Property Service Providers. And this document outlines how to view and show properties, as well as a host of other things that property surveyors should actually be doing. So let's have a quick look at it. So this is the document which I'm referring to. They are guidelines. They came out in May. They were updated in July. The main sections of this of interest are really about viewing properties. It basically states that you have to have an appointment, a pre-approved appointment beforehand. Contact details need to be recorded. Confirmation that both the homeowner and the viewer have complied with HSE guidelines. Viewing should be no more than 2 people from different households, or up to 4 people from the same household. There should be no kids. Viewing should be no more than 15 minutes. Doors and windows should be kept open so handles don't have to be touched. There should also be COVID signs and hand sanitizers, and 2-meter distance should be always kept. If the property is vacant, the agent can wait outside. If it is not vacant, the agent can walk around, but making sure that they are keeping 2 meters. Masks and gloves should be worn by all parties, and if the viewer has any questions, they should be happening outside or over the phone afterwards. There's also guidance within this document that suggests that all small internal doors should be removed from their hinges so the viewers can actually see in without actually touching the doors. As well as agents should be cleaning down the property before and after viewings and leaving time gaps. So these are just guidelines that came out during the summer. They are just guidelines, they're not actually law. However, as a licensed agent, we are required to follow the guidelines. So therefore, they may as well be law in terms of how we are actually operating, or how agents are operating their business. However, there is nothing within these guidelines that actually suggests that proof of funds are required before viewing a property. Some agents during the summertime did require that proof of funds were provided before viewing property, but that was their own business. There wasn't actually a requirement within the guidelines. And to be fair, it's up to each agent to manage their own business and protect their staff as they see fit. However, new guidelines did come out on the 23rd of October. So in these new guidelines that came out on the 23rd of October, it does state that proof of funds are required during level 4 and level 5. And it also states that it is a requirement to view the property online before an actual in-person viewing takes place. While these are just guidelines, as a licensed agents are required to follow those guidelines. How detailed the proof of funds actually have to be is not described within those guidelines. So it will be up to each agent to determine what they require for proof of funds. However, I would recommend not giving away your maximum budget as part of providing proof of funds. Is just a really bad point to start off any negotiations. It is crazy to think that it's a crazy thing to think about in terms of actually having to provide your full maximum budget before you actually even view the property. I did a course on negotiations a few years ago, and one of the key things or key takeaways I remember from that course was putting your stake in early and putting it in firm. And in that regards, if you're actually providing your maximum budget as the very first stake you hit into the ground, that is not a great starting point for negotiations. Imagine actually walking into negotiations for a business deal and you are stopped at the door before you get into the room to see the product or to see the actual full extent of the deal, and you're asked, can you provide what your maximum budget is before we actually let you in to see this deal or this product? That's just a crazy place to start off any negotiations. And I don't think it's a great place to start off any property negotiations either. While it is a requirement right now to provide proof of funds during level 4 and level 5 of lockdown, I don't think it is necessarily a requirement to provide full details on your savings account, your full allowed mortgage amount, or your full bank statements. I think what is appropriate right now is probably to ask for your bank or your broker for a letter confirming that you have funds in place to purchase the property in question. In my mind, I believe that is enough for an agent to satisfy their requirement under the guidelines, in terms of the guidelines that the Property Service Regulatory are putting forward. And I believe any agent who gets a letter from a bank or from a broker stating that there is funds in place to purchase the subject property, that should be enough for them to satisfy the requirements under the guidelines. If they feel that that's not enough to satisfy their requirements, in my mind, they're just being and they are really doing their client a disservice as well. But to be fair to agents right now, their jobs have got a hell of a lot harder. Imagine this way, or think about it this way. An agent who held a successful open house could get 20 or 40 potential buyers into a property within the space of a half an hour or 45 minutes. To get the same number of people or same number of interested parties into a house right now could take up to 2 days if you allow for 15 minutes per viewing, a time to open up and air the property out, cleaning down the property. And also, that's just the viewing of the property. It now takes probably a hell of a lot longer as well to actually coordinate everyone's diaries to make sure that people are actually able to view the property at certain times. So their jobs have got probably a lot harder. They're also having to check that HSE guidelines have been met by both the seller and the viewer before they view the property. They're having to provide COVID signage at the property and hand sanitizers. So their jobs definitely have got harder, and I can understand probably why maybe some communications from some agents to buyers have actually been a bit lax recently, because their jobs have got a hell of a lot more difficult recently. So what will happen in the future after we come out of lockdown in regards to viewing properties? Will it be still a requirement for buyers to provide proof of funds before they even view the property? I know there are plenty of agents out there that want to eliminate tire kickers as much as possible and want to qualify buyers before they actually go and view the property. I think it would be a mistake to go down this route. I always believe it should be made easier for people to view properties, not harder. So requesting proof of funds and qualifying buyers before they even see the property would be a mistake if basically agents went down that route in the future. I hope they don't, because realistically, I think the way to sell a property is get as many eyes in on that property as possible. I'm always a fan of when open viewings are actually taking place, is to get as many people in as possible. Even invite the neighbours in, because you don't know, maybe one of the neighbours actually knows someone who wants to live in the area and can recommend it to a friend. While every viewer of the property at an open house may not be a qualified buyer or qualified bidder and may not intend to bid on the property, anyone who is interested on bidding on the property will see that there is a strong level of interest on the property, and therefore they may be quicker to actually put a bid in, and therefore you're doing your client a service by actually getting people to bid on the property quicker too. I also think it's important to remember for agents too that viewings and open houses are a good way to capture leads, long-term leads, because people viewing the property may actually be interested in selling their own property down the line, and it's an important kind of way to capture leads long term. So to summarise, Right now, under level 4 and level 5 of lockdown, it is a requirement for agents to request proof of funds. In my mind, that proof of funds should be coming by way of a letter from your bank or broker confirming that funds are in place to purchase the property without giving away your maximum budget. This should be enough for agents to feel that they are fulfilling the requirement under the guidelines. I think it would be a mistake for agents to continue to request proof of funds after we've come out of level 4 and level 5. I just don't think it's the right thing for most businesses to do. Also, from a general public point of view, I think it's important to give agents a little bit of slack right now. Their jobs have got a hell of a lot harder, and they also need to protect their clients from COVID, and they need to protect their staff as well. So give them a little bit of slack, because their jobs have got a lot harder and they're probably doing way more work for far less of a return right now. I hope you found this video of use, especially if you're going to view a property soon, and hopefully you've been able to get some information of what to expect on viewings or what agents will be looking for as well. As always, thanks for watching, but make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you've liked it, and don't forget to subscribe.